I first spoke with Margo St. James in 2008 following the failure of Prop K, a San Francisco citywide ballot measure to decriminalize prostitution and defund the diversion programs. I was the proponent and I had qualified it for the ballot. So someone had given me Margo's phone number and said I should call her at her home in Western Washington. So I called Margo and she started talking about Coyote versus Roberts, which was a class action lawsuit litigated against the state of Rhode Island in 1976. So Margo told me that 4 members of Coyote had gone to Rhode Island to work and became plaintiffs in the case. So she thought that the way forward was to bring a similar lawsuit in California to get a ruling against the anti-prostitution law. So I started calling around people in Rhode Island to try to figure out, the elements of the lawsuit. And because of the visibility that Prop K had brought me, I was asked to go along with Veronica Monet to participate in an event called Rebellious Lawyers at Yale Law School in Connecticut. So this provided me with an opportunity to drive to Rhode Island's state capitol courthouse to do some research on the lawsuit. So Coyote versus Roberts case claimed that Rhode Island's anti-prostitution law was being enforced in a discriminatory way against women, but not men. This eventually led to Rhode Island legislatures removing the criminalization of indoor prostitution for both women and men from the law books to settle the lawsuit out of court. But because we had so much trouble raising money for Prop K in 2008 because folks didn't want their names, their home addresses or their work identified in any association with prostitution in the campaign finance disclosure laws, I founded the 501c3 nonprofit, the Erotic Service Providers Legal Education and Research Project, SPLRP, in 2010. So we could collect donations anonymously for the lawsuit. So I recruited a First Amendment rights and attorney. I gathered some plaintiffs, we got some money, and in 2015 we filed the groundbreaking, court case Esplert versus Gascon. So we had asked the federal courts to find that California's prostitution law 647B was unconstitutional, and George Gascon was then San Francisco's district attorney. So he ended up as the named defendant in our case, along with other district attorneys that we had in our lawsuit against Sonoma, Marin, and Alameda counties. So the case went all the way to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which eventually dismissed it in 2017. But even so, in its judgment, the court did state that the state of California legislatures should review the anti-prostitution law. So although we didn't get the anti-prostitution law struck down at the time, we did get the attention of many district attorneys across the state who clearly had never conceived of the idea that people actually thought that they had the constitutional right to be prostitutes and to be customers of prostitutes. So it was with this knowledge of, that Margo had given us, to be able to move forward on this lawsuit. And many district attorneys, including George Gascon, was like, what? Who's Margo St. James? Like they had never heard of her. They had never heard of all the good work that she and her comrades had done around trying to, stop the prosecution. We also got the attention of legislators. Our allies in California legislators were able to pass progressive legislation, such as Senate Bill 239, which repealed the criminalization of the HIV positive status, and Senate Bill 233, which gives immunity to anyone reporting a serious crime without being charged with prostitution. And condoms can no longer be used as evidence to make prostitution arrests. So ironically, George Gascon went on to be elected to the Los Angeles District Attorney, and he immediately started to roll back the prosecutions of misdemeanors, including prostitution. So much so that The LA County sheriffs recently complained publicly that George Gascon had basically legalized prostitution in Los Angeles by failing to prosecute solicitation for prostitution cases that had been referred to, the district attorney's office by the LA police. So in this way, we see that Margo St. James's fight to decriminalize prostitution has, still delivering results. It doesn't matter whether we're charismatic like Margo, whether we're worldly and educated like Margo, or whether we have lots of friends and lovers and comrades like Margo, we can still make a difference, and we all have a role to play, because we believe that prostitution should not be criminalized, and that prostitutes and our customers and our larger communities make valuable contributions to humanity, that we make a difference in the world, and we're going to continue our fight that Margo started. So, please join our local movement. Go find your local movement, your local group somewhere. You can join us, lend your talents, your energy, your money, your presence, towards the end of, ending criminalization, because everyone has a role to play. So we hope that Margo can rest in peace and in power, and we hope to see you on the happy trail. Thanks so much for joining us.